featuring the creator and lead host of Clutch Crew Sports, Zach.
Unfortunately, Eric is an Oklahoma City Thunder fan, and he went through a pretty rough postseason watching my Portland Trailblazers pretty well dismantle his team. So,
dang. Okay, I did not realize we were going to go into that.
You sure you didn't lose your train of thought by looking at this picture here?
For those of you who don't know, Zach really likes Alex Morgan.
Also featuring Eric. I'm a co-host. I specialize in NFL and NBA. If a topic upsets me enough, I'm going to rant about it. So if Cincinnati, wants to turn this around, they've got a few pieces that they can start with, and then try to rebuild and get some more draft picks and get some younger talent in there and start it now. Just to face it now that you're going to suck and try to fix it for the future. For people that want to say Steph is an all-time great or one of the greatest players, or even maybe the greatest player of all time, how can you really say that, though, if he would have 4 championships and not have been the finals MVP in any of them?
Also featuring Connor, the number 1 co-host, and I'm going to lock that. I'm back, baby! If you're not going to do it, I'll double lock Middleton, because everything I've read has been that he's the number 1 priority for the Bucks. Like, in their minds, they could forget Brogdon and Lopez. They need to get Middleton back.
I'm locking this one because I've got on my survival pick.
Okay. I need to write this down on a piece of paper.
Yep,
Zach is locking Denver beating Chicago.
What's up, everybody? Today we have a very fun episode to show you guys. We're going to talk about some big-time college game matchups this past week. 2 8-0 games where both teams were 8-0 and they played each other. So, and we all watched those games. It's going to be fun to talk about. We've got some NFL games to talk about. Lots of upsets this week. Most in the season so far. So it was a crazy weekend of sports, but I do want to share with you guys some updates to the channel, and we have a new segment that we're really excited about. We are going to debut it in this episode. I'll tell you more about that later, but we do want to give you a Subvember count. So as we've been talking about really this whole month, Subvember is a goal that we've created to get more subscribers to our channel. And a lot of you listening may have been referred by one of us, actually. So thank you for following and thank you for watching this video. I'll briefly share an update of the standings. So Eric is still in first place with 14 subscribers. So
let's go.
Congrats on that, man. You're in the lead. Quite a big margin, actually, as Nate is in second place right now with 3. I've got 2, and Connor is slacking. He doesn't have any yet. So
I've been busy. I've been busy, man. But I'll work on it. But
yeah,
I apologize for my lack of work, but I will be getting on that here.
Yeah, but
I would not like to be roasted in a few weeks' time.
Well, it's looking like you're gonna be.
I mean, you too.
Yeah, well, 3/4 of us are gonna be, so the odds are against us. But I was actually telling Eric earlier in the week, I actually don't mind being roasted. I kind of want to see what whoever roasts me is gonna say, but at the same time, I do want to roast you guys. So it's I want both of those to happen, but it won't, obviously. And then Eric, you're totally opposite than me, though, right?
Yeah, Zach was like, "Oh man, I bet you've got a lot of material prepared because you're in first place." And I said, "Well, honestly, my main thing is I just want to not get roasted." So I'm mainly just trying to avoid that, honestly.
Well, you're doing a good job of that so far, man. But all right, so I hinted at this in the beginning of the show, but we do have a new segment to the show, and this is going to be a weekly segment in these reaction videos. So lately, we've been coming out with just one video where we combine college football and pro football, but we are going to put a little weekend update in sports segment. And if you've ever seen the show Saturday Night Live, you'll know that they have their own weekend update segment in that show where they make jokes about politics and random news stories that happened. And so we kind of wanted to do the same thing for that, but sports related. So all of our jokes and stories in that are based off of actual sporting events and players and teams and all that fun stuff. So we're starting out very basic here. This is our first time doing it, so we just have the audio really. But as we progress doing this, we're gonna plan on actually having like a video of Eric and myself telling these jokes, and then have more things to make it similar to the real life Saturday Night Live version. But I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm gonna play it right now at the beginning.
It's the weekend sports update with Zach Conger and Eric Conger.
Good evening, everyone.
Welcome to Weekend Update. I'm Eric Conger.
And I'm Zach Conger. Dion Waiters had a panic attack and seizure on the team plane after overdosing on THC edible gummies. This is going to cost him a $1.2 million contract bonus, and he's been suspended for 10 games without pay. Earlier in the season, he voiced his frustration with the team, and now this? I mean, you just gotta ask for a trade request, dude. Instead, you're just embarrassing yourself, not for eating the gummies, but for overdosing on them. Now we're hearing Dion was given the gummies by an unknown teammate. I don't know what's more embarrassing for Miami fans, Gummygate or their football, hockey, and baseball teams. Like, the Heat are supposed to be the stable Miami franchise, and now the team's got an elaborate THC gummy ring going on. You'd think all the drug choices in Miami and edible gummies is the one they go with.
Also, on Wednesday's game between the Milwaukee Bucks and the LA Clippers, there was a weird moment where Eric Bledsoe inbounded the basketball by dribbling it to himself. That's definitely not something you see every day. Most people are saying he just wanted to get the ball quickly to the paint, or just wasn't thinking about it. But those are just lame excuses for what really happened. Honestly, I blame Kawhi Leonard for this. You're probably wondering what he has to do with any of this since he didn't even play in the game. But he's already a confirmed cyborg. We don't even know what other kind of superpowers he's capable of. I mean, after all, he did lead the city of Toronto to a championship. It's definitely possible he could have controlled Bledsoe on that play, as after the game, Bledsoe he said he didn't even know why he passed the ball. Yes, Kawhi wasn't in this game, but he doesn't play in back-to-back games. Honestly, this brings up even more questions and critics of his load management. A lot of people have a problem with it, but I don't have a problem with it, and I support it. Let's just get this idea going outside of sports, though. You know what I mean? Like, if I have to do a double back-to-back days, can I get one of those days off for load management?
In an exhibition match, Oregon's women's basketball team upset Team USA 93-86. The last time a college team upset Team USA was in 1999 when Tennessee pulled off the upset. This is great. I love when college teams get a chance to play a professional or national team. The one I want to see most is the Cincinnati Bengals versus LSU. The Bengals would never agree to this, though, because they don't want to humiliate their future quarterback, Joe Burrow, in front of the rest of their team.
Week 10 was probably the most unpredictable slate of NFL games this week. The Jets, Dolphins, Browns, and Falcons all won this week. And if that wasn't crazy enough, Mitch Trubisky also had 3 touchdowns to, get this, no interceptions. It's been reported that Mitch asked for the team to take out all the TVs in the team facilities, and the Bears listened to him. Not because it would help out Mitch's game, but it's so they aren't reminded every day that they traded up to pick Mitch Trubisky 2nd overall in the 2017 draft, passing on Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, who are obviously way better. Earlier this year, Vikings wide receivers Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs publicly criticized Kirk Cousins. But could you imagine if Mitch Trubisky was their starting quarterback? Pretty sure they would have requested to become cornerbacks because they would have had better odds of catching passes from Trubisky than his receivers do.
Jalen Ramsey tried to trash talk Juju Smith-Schuster before the Rams-Steelers game, saying that Juju is no Antonio Brown, to which Juju responded, "No, I'm certainly not like Antonio Brown."
Yeah, no one wants to be him. Taylor Lewan for the Tennessee Titans said he's really screwing his team with penalties. Coincidentally, Lewan's team high 9 penalties have accounted for exactly 69 penalty yards. It's also being reported that Lewan and Rob Gronkowski are now best friends.
After Lamar Jackson led the Ravens to a convincing win Sunday against the Bengals, he joined elite company with a perfect passer rating, something fake elite Flacco could never do.
And finally, guys, in this weekend update, New York Knicks president Steve Mills has come out and said that he is, quote, not happy with the Knicks 2-8 start to the season, saying, quote, we are not happy with where we are, and this is not where we expected to be 10 games in. How is this not where they expected to be? They were a bad team going into the offseason, and their best free agent move was Julius Randle. They couldn't expect to be amazing or anything. They've also lost 3 of their last 4 games by at least 20 points. Ouch. General Manager Perry also said there's been a lack of consistency. I'm sorry, Mr. Perry, but you're wrong. The Knicks have been pretty consistent this year, just consistently bad.
Thank you, everybody. We've got a great rest of the show planned ahead for you. Stay tuned. Good night.
Peace.
We'll move into the NFL part of the episode. So, like I said at the very beginning, this was a crazy week. You heard it in our weekend update thing, like the parody of this week. Starting out the Thursday night game, this is a good game. I didn't watch it, but I would have liked to because it's 26-24. Oakland beat the LA Chargers. Nate was the only one getting this one wrong. I guess before we start, since we don't have to keep saying that, Nate only got 1 game right this week. So
ouch.
Yeah, man, that I mean, none of us did great or anything, but that sucks, man.
So far, I mean, we still have the Monday night game to go, but the only one he got right was the Baltimore against Cincinnati one. Yeah, we all did bad, but Nate did especially bad this week. Yeah, so just keep that in mind when I say who got it right and wrong, because other than that Baltimore one, so far he's gotten them all wrong. Buffalo at Cleveland. Cleveland won 19-16. We all got it wrong. No shame for Nate there. Detroit and Chicago. Chicago wins 20-13. I was the only one getting this right, and I guess I changed my pick in the morning because I saw that Stafford wasn't going to play.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
So, I was at work. I didn't even
Yeah, I figured if you guys had seen that, you'd have changed. So I got the benefit of the knowledge there to change my pick. I think with Stafford,
if I had gotten to have a load management day at work, I could have had the day off. I could have caught that time.
I want load management days so badly, man. It's not fair. It's only for NBA players.
They should give load management for school too. Jeez.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if you got to take like 2 or 3 exams back to back, split it up with some load management time off. But they'll never do that. Baltimore and Cincinnati. This was like the only normal event that happened this week. This went as people had thought it would have gone. Baltimore wins 49-13. They still look scary. I mean, it was Cincinnati, so yeah, don't really put stock into that. But still, their offense is pretty fun to watch. Kansas City and Tennessee. Tennessee, man, I could write a book about how like crazy they are
up and
because
down
like,
they are.
oh my god, they look like they beat Kansas City this week. They just have some crazy good wins, but then they lose to Denver. They get shut out against Denver. Connor, you know that from Survival, but
Yeah, I know they screwed me.
they have had, like I said, they're the most up and down team in the NFL.
So
They're back
hard
to 500. They'll be 500 at the end. I mean, that's almost a given. Like I said in the Hipsy South prediction video, like they've been 9-7 for 3 years in a row. Like I don't expect that to change. But we all picked Kansas City and got it wrong.
Yeah. I would like to rant on the Kansas City Chiefs real quick because how dare them beat my Jacksonville Jaguars in week 1? Like, okay, that's fine. You beat my team. But then if you're going to beat my team, at least go and beat all the other teams in the AFC South. But no, you lose to all 3 of them. They lost to the Titans, the Colts, and the Texans. I'm like, this is not for
2 of them were at home, too, because they lost to Jacksonville on the road. So, like,
yeah, they lost to the Texans and the Colts at home. The Colts in Sunday night primetime of all games. I mean,
when they still had Patrick Mahomes too,
and
they had Patrick Mahomes for this game too.
They've had Patrick Mahomes in all 3 of the games.
Yeah,
that they lost to the AFC South rivals of ours. Like come on, Kansas City. Like,
I can see when Eric has his full list of teams from favorite to least favorite, Kansas City is dropping down that list as we speak.
Kansas City. I mean, I've always been like pretty cool with them, but they're dropping a few spots in my rankings for sure after that.
Yeah, they got their own problems
to
worry about.
For my MVP prediction, so if he wins that, maybe they'll go back up a little bit. But
I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately, for you.
He missed too many games, but.
Well, now we got another one that you might want to sigh about. Atlanta against New Orleans. Atlanta wins 26-9. We all got it right.
Who saw that coming?
Not Eric. I know that.
I mean, when I saw like all of our survival picks this week, I thought, okay, I lost last week. Even though the Browns lost to a third string quarterback, I was like, I have the safest pick this week for sure, like going into this, because I wasn't confident with the Colts over the Dolphins because of Brissett being injured. And then even though the Jets have been really bad, like the Giants haven't been good either. So I was like, but the Saints are a Super Bowl contender playing against a team who's lost like 7 games in a row or something like that. So I was like, I feel pretty confident with this. And they lose. I haven't seen anything of this game yet, but this was obviously a terrible performance, losing 26-9.
It was just poor play because I actually watched part of this game. It was very poor performance by Drew Brees, and I'll tell you what, man, the Atlanta Falcons defense had the game of their life. I think they sacked Drew Brees like 4 times, and it was like going into this game, they only had like 2 sacks on the season or something like that.
And I guess I have to, in a weird way, like rant on myself, because just 2 weeks ago, Zach made a comment about how I was undefeated in survival. And not only that, that was when we did our episodes of what we've gotten right and what we've gotten wrong. And what I said I got right was the Saints, but then they go and lose to the sorry Falcons today. And then what I said I got wrong which this one I'm fine with, but what I said I got wrong was the Colts because of how good they're doing. But then they lose to Mason Rudolph and Ryan Fitzpatrick in back-to-back weeks. Now, I know they didn't have Brissett for a big chunk of the Steelers game, and they didn't have him today at all, but still, like,
I mean, at least the Steelers have a defense, but, like...
Yeah, the Steelers game, like, I could, forgive, but how do you lose to the Dolphins at home? I mean, honestly, like, I know they didn't have Brissett and T.Y. Hilton, but come on, like,
they got Marlon Mack.
I mean, just when I gave them, I guess obviously what I have to do in this podcast is, like, whenever there's like a team or player I don't want to do well, I need to like
hype them up
to win. And just be like, man, these teams or players are the greatest thing since sliced bread, and then there's somebody that I want to do good, be like, oh, they suck, because
Well, I guess you need to start hyping up Houston here.
I mean, the only time it seems to go like the other way is if a team or a player has a bad performance and like we call them out on here, then they turn it around. But man, I just like ever since like that episode, I mean, I was like, man, I'm on like cloud 9. I'm doing really good with my survival. Like, I'm not winning the NFL picks, but I'm winning in survival. Like, like I've gotten a good amount of stuff right this year, and then these last 2 weeks have just been like pure trash for me with my predictions. Like,
well, speaking of survival, did your dad get survived
No,
this week, Zach?
he got his first strike because he picked New Orleans as well. It was 40 something percent picked New Orleans. Yeah, I mean, like almost this was like the apocalypse in survival, because like everybody, almost half the people picked New Orleans. And then
the other half picked Indy.
Yeah, so like this pretty much took out almost everybody. So with that being said, you would have thought, oh, Zach, maybe you got yours right. But no, I got mine wrong too. I picked the Giants in survival. I was trying to be cute here because the Giants aren't a good team, but I was saying the Jets, like, they look so sorry this season. I was like, okay.
Well, yeah, and they just lost to the Dolphins too.
Yeah, they lost to the Dolphins. They were just looking sorry, man.
The sorry Falcons and the sorry Jets.
Yeah, like I almost thought I thought the Jets were worse than the Falcons, but they ended up winning the game by a touchdown. Come on, Giants. Why'd you have to?
I will say, Zach, if I hadn't gotten my first survival strike last week, I would have highly considered picking the Giants as my survival pick too. But since I had already lost one, I was like, well, let me go like super safe this week, and so I didn't. But the Giants were a team I was strongly considering for my survival pick. But I just thought it was too aggressive since I was already down a strike. But I would have been wrong either way. So.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
I mean, I can't even complain about survival because, like, out of the teams that I picked to win, other than Baltimore, like, because I already used them, I would have only had four other choices to use, and I wasn't confident on using those 4. So,
I mean,
so I can't like be mad at myself for this. But moving on here, Arizona and Tampa Bay played. Connor and I got this right, picking the Buccaneers. Eric, and you already knew Nate got it wrong.
Nate's like not even here to defend himself.
I know.
Oh my god.
Eric, and you already know Nate got it right. I can't believe I said that.
He's on the Google Doc right now too.
Oh yeah, the little chameleon here. Oh man. It's like he senses it. Oh man.
He knows we're recording right now.
Wonder
Nate,
why he's
get
on.
In the chat. Nate, get in the chat.
Oh gosh. But so I want to talk about this game because I got to watch it pretty much the whole game. Tampa really tried to lose this at the end because they had a pass interference on like a 4th and 15 that allowed Arizona to keep their drive going. There was one play where Kyler Murray, on the replay, he clearly was down, but he threw the ball, and it was close, but it was pretty clear in replay that it would have been a sack, but they called it an incomplete pass, and Bruce Arians is out of challenges. Bruce Arians, like, he's a good coach and all, but sometimes I don't know what's going on in his head because he threw 2 challenges before in the game on pass interference, and one of them was obviously not pass interference. Like, it was just weird that he threw the challenge on it because, like, pass interference doesn't get overturned, and that one is definitely not getting overturned. And so he wasted all his challenges on that. So then there was an obvious, he actually did throw the challenge flag on the Kyler Murray sack / incompletion play, But he had already used all his challenges, so then he was forced to timeout because he didn't know that he had ran out of challenges. So I don't know what was going on in his head there. It's like Tampa was trying to lose this. You're like, here we go again. Like, with Tampa losing these games by one possession.
That's okay. Mike Tomlin makes stupid challenges too.
But that was just, you can't, and it was close too. They ended up not needing that timeout to win, but I mean, it wasn't smart to waste a timeout there by trying to throw a third challenge flag when he didn't earn it. But I want to mainly talk about this game for Kyler Murray because he had some great moments in this game, and he did have one play on a fourth down where if you look this up on Game Pass or something, you see it was a 4th and 3 down in the red zone, and they run a little play action or something. The tight end is wide open. He just floats it to him and straight up drops it. It would have been an easy touchdown. There was no one within 10 yards of him. And it was the Tampa Sun caused it. Sure. I don't know.
That's an excuse.
Yeah. You got that was all on the tight end. Don't even remember what his name was, but the Arizona tight end, I meant to say. But earlier, before that had happened, I counted at least 4 times where Kyler Murray overthrew a wide open receiver that would have either gone for a touchdown or gone for a 25+ yard play. And Jameis was doing this too, but I think we all know.
We all know Jameis does that.
Yeah. But Kyler, I mean, he's a rookie and everything, but you can't make you gotta at least make more of those. When your receiver is wide open, and that's why they lost. Because if they had been able to get one of those, obviously that tight end should have caught that one, but still, he didn't do his team any favors in that instance. He did have some spectacular plays, but he's got to be more consistent until he's a good quarterback. Until that happens, I think he's just an okay quarterback because, like I said, you got to. And the problem with him being so small too is he gets balls batted down a lot, at the line of scrimmage. He had a couple in this game happen. He takes sacks really easily, which is a downside, as that happened quite a bit. And then there was that one time where it should have been a sack, but the refs called it incomplete, and then Tampa couldn't challenge it, so he should have been sacked on that one. He was sacked a couple other times. And then another thing too I wanted to talk about is David Johnson. A couple of years ago, he was the best running back in football, and then he had that injury where he missed the whole season, that wrist injury or something. And then he was I guess okay after that, but now he's not even average. I wouldn't even rank him in the top half of the league's running backs. I would say he's somewhere between 20 and 30 in the running back rankings. He's not good anymore, and he's got a big contract too. He's no good anymore. I'm just for a long time he had negative yards in this game. He just looks slow too. There was a play where he ended up being tackled for loss, and he just was so sluggish and slow on the play. I don't know if it's all these injuries, but definitely not going to be picked in the first round in fantasy drafts next year. I don't even think in the top 5 rounds. That's how bad he's been playing. And I didn't expect him to be the number 1 running back or anything, but I thought he'd be okay. I thought he'd still be decent, but I don't even think Arizona's going to be playing with him. I mean, Drake got a lot of carries in this game now because they're starting to realize that David Johnson's no longer himself. So it's just an interesting. Whereas on the other hand, Larry Fitzgerald looked really good this game. He was making a really nice catch on 4th down one time. He was making a lot of other nice catches too. It was weird how he had a really good game still, but David Johnson is way past his prime now.
Old man
Larry
still got
is
it.
too, but Larry had a good game. So those are my takeaways from the game. Jameis, he survived this after throwing I think he had 2 interceptions this game. So he survived, but usually it doesn't work out for him when he throws 2 interceptions. But first game in Tampa, 2 in 7 weeks. They really got done dirty with the scheduling because they had 2 games on the road, and then they had the London game, which is technically a home game for them, but it's in London. Then they had the bye, and then they had 2 road games. So it's been 7 weeks since they had a game in Tampa. Yeah, they really got shortened and sick scheduling. But those are my takeaways from that game since I watched it in depth. So we talked earlier, Miami did beat Indiana 16-12, and it was Connor and Nate's lock. You knew
That
Nate,
didn't happen.
Yeah, if Nate picked Indiana, you knew they were going to lose. The way this
Man, they just keep on coming.
This episode comes out on Tuesday. I'm gonna wait to release it maybe before we start the episode.
Why do I feel like we've already started roasting Nate here?
Yeah, I'm first in November counts right now.
Okay.
I'm losing potential roasting opportunity if I.
You can still roast them, man.
I'll still refer back to this.
Yeah, you can't forget it. Carolina and Green Bay. Green Bay won 24-16. Eric and Connor got this right. You already knew Nate picked Carolina.
Okay, I'll stop. Oh,
I had that so this is a pretty close game. I mainly want to talk about this because we were debating this on Facebook. I want to have a little debate here, little mini debate on the going for it going for the 2-point conversions like Carolina did. To me, I don't mind their call to go for it because I see it like this. There's probably a 50% chance to get it. So if you get it, that's great. Then you can kick an extra point on your next touchdown and win. Or if you don't get it, at least you have another shot, and if you get it, you tie. At least you have that ability. Whereas if you kick the extra point and then go for it at the end and don't get it, you lose because you didn't have another chance to go for it. You know what I'm saying? If you go for it twice, I guess it's more, since you go for it 2 times, I guess there's better odds of making it at least one of those times. Whereas going for it only once there, obviously you could have just kicked both extra points and then taken it to overtime. But if you want to go for the win in regulation, I don't have a problem with it. They didn't get it the first time, so they would have had to get it on their next touchdown, which they didn't get. But to me, I like the call. I mean, I don't mind when teams go for 2 because, to me, it's you got to have the team believe in the team to get 2 yards. I mean, you got to have a good 2-point conversion play, obviously, but still, if you show trust in your team, I think that's important. And I know players always like going for 2. They don't want to settle for the ties or go to overtime. They would, if they had the choice, they would go for it. But yeah, I guess I'm just a more risky person when it comes to that stuff. Because also to me, if you aren't able to get 2 yards on one play, you shouldn't deserve to win. That's the way I see it. If you go for it and don't get it, I would much rather my team go for it and not get it, because that's just embarrassing, and not embarrassing, but you don't deserve it if you do that and don't get it. But it's only 2 yards you got to get. It's not that hard. So that's the way I see it, but I know you guys are different, so.
I mean, my thought on it is more of if you're going to go for 2 in that scenario, it feels like to me you're just making it a lot harder on yourself. Because at least, obviously a lot of teams want to be aggressive when it comes down to it. Like, if it had been 24-17 and then the Panthers went down and got a touchdown to make it 24-23, a lot of teams want to be aggressive and they want to go for that 2 points and go for the win rather than go for overtime. But in my mind, at least the option is there if you want to, take the time, go to overtime if you're not quite confident. And, obviously for the Panthers, they have a rookie quarterback and the conditions were absolutely horrid in this game, towards the end. I mean, it was snowing all over the place and blah, 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 blah. So at least you would have had that option, whereas if you go for the 2-point conversion and miss it, well, now you have to go for the 2-point conversion just to tie the game. So, not even that this is, okay, we're going for a win here. Like, just to tie the game, we have to make it harder on ourselves and go for the 2. So that's why I'm not as much in favor of it. And I think it also depends on the opponent that you're playing. When you're playing a team as good as Green Bay, do you really want to make it that much harder on yourself to, now we actually have to go for 2 and they're expecting it? Because I think that could be the other thing, too, if you go down to the end of the game and, you're going to kick the extra point. It could be a little bit of a surprise factor, like, oh, they're going for 2. Like, we weren't ready for this. Whereas now they know you're going for 2 as soon as you get down there. And of course, the defensive coordinator's up in the box, like drawing up schemes and, drawing up plays to stop your 2-point attempts. So it's more the reason why I would have, kicked the extra point in that scenario rather than going for 2. And that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree with Connor here. I just think it's way too risky. And I know 2 yards isn't a lot, obviously, but the fact that teams only converted about half the time, like, shows you that it still is a true risk, whereas extra points are made like 90 to 95% of the time. When you're still down like this and you don't need to go for 2, I agree with Connor that I just don't think it was the right call. Now, obviously, if the score was 24-8 and then you get a touchdown and you're down 24-14, you have to go for 2 to, try to then make it be a 1-score game. But in that instance, there was still a good amount of time left in the game too. I would just take the extra point, and then had they scored that last touchdown with like 30 seconds left, or I think time ran out on the play.
Time ran out.
Yeah, time ran out on the play. Like, if I score that touchdown, then I'm probably going for 2 to try to get the win at that point. But, like Connor said, though, at least you have the option of going to overtime or not, what you feel. Whereas I don't like risking not getting it and then having to be forced to do it later. I don't really like it. I mean,
yeah,
obviously it didn't have an impact on this game but I mean, what if, Carolina gets that touchdown and then they go for 2 and then they don't get it again, they lose. I mean,
then they deserve to lose. Like, to me, like, if that happens, like, you like, okay, yeah, you should have lost because you didn't get those 2-point conversions. Like, yeah, it sucks, but like, you gotta make those 2 yards.
Yeah,
like, but that's the way I see it. Like,
yeah, but if you do the 2 extra point route, at least then you have a chance in overtime. Whereas you didn't make yourself take an unnecessary risk. And then the other problem too was that they ran a lot of different plays down by the 2-yard line there at the end of that game. So even if they score the touchdown, then they have to come up with another play that the defense hasn't seen yet or might not be expecting, which is going to be difficult to do at that point when you've already run several plays inside the 5-yard line. It's not something I would do.
We disagree on this a lot because, like, to me, like, I would rather go for 2 than have like a coin toss decide like who starts with the ball. Like how it doesn't happen every time, but like you're not even guaranteed to have your offense on the field in overtime. So I'm always for the 2-point conversion because you have the ball in your hands to make it and win.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing though with them going for 2 earlier and not getting it, then they have to get the 2-point conversion just to even get the possibility of having the coin toss and overtime.
But that's still better odds if you go for it twice to get it at least once. Like
no, I think it's better odds to kick the extra point first and then go for two, because you have a play that's like a 90-something% success rate and then a play of a 50% success rate, whereas you're having to run a play of 50% success rate possibly 2 times in a row if you don't get it the first time.
But if you get it the first time, then you don't have to worry about
if you get it the first time, then you're just doing it in a different order. But then if you don't get it, you have to do it twice.
But I think if you do it twice, like you should at least get it one of those 2 times, like. And go ahead.
Well, I was just saying that if I'm going back to your point about like, you've got the ball in your hands right there, and you know your fate. I think part of what you need to put your faith in is that you got to have faith in your defense. I mean, especially for a team like the Panthers with guys like Luke Kuechly and Shaq Thompson out there, like, there's 2 parts to a football team. It's not just your offense. So obviously it sucks that there's a chance that your offense might not get the ball, but then in that case, that's when I think you definitely don't deserve to win. If you can't put the faith in your defense to get you the ball back, if you don't win the coin toss, then I don't think you deserve to win the game, because, then you're just a one-dimensional team and you can't do anything. You can't rely on both parts of your team. You're not a complete team at that point. You're one-dimensional.
Yeah, but like if you go to overtime and don't get the ball, like, yeah, that sucks. But like it was a coin toss that said that they get the ball first. You know what I mean? Like,
right, I get that part, but it's like
I would rather
you have to have faith in your defense at that point. That's why I was saying there's 2 parts to a football team. You can't just have a good offense. You got to have a good defense too.
Yeah, but it still isn't fair if you lose the coin toss. Like,
I mean, that's a different discussion, the overtime rules. But
yeah,
I mean, I do agree
that
they're not quite as fair. But I mean,
Well, I mean, they're better than they used to be, though. Like,
right.
Worse.
They used to be worse with the fact that a field goal could end it, because then teams could just like get down to the
35 and then kick a field goal, like
or just like, and then like start running safe conservative plays, like you're not having to worry about anything at that point.
Yeah, but, I don't know, like when it comes to the 2-point versus extra point, like I think you either kick 2 extra points or I think you go for it twice, because if you only go for it once, like if you go for it once at the end and you don't get it, you lose. Whereas if you go for it once early on and you don't get it, at least you have a chance to go for it again and possibly get it to tie it. So you have, like you've got 2 chances to at least tie it. Either that or you just go the safe route and kick the extra points. Like if you only go for it once there, you've got 1 shot. Whereas if you get it the first time, great. If you don't, at least you can try it again and then tie it, So it's like you think you have to make it. You lose either way, I guess, if you miss it, if you don't get it the first time. Like, if you kick the extra point the first time and then don't get it the second time, and you don't get the 2-point conversion on the second touchdown, it's the same thing as not getting the 2-point conversion the first time. Like, you still lose the same result. So,
we could go on about this for days.
This could go in circles.
Yeah, it would. All right, we'll move on. We'll move on quickly here. The Rams and the Steelers. Steelers win 17-12. Connor got this right. Eric and I got it wrong.
I put the faith back in my team.
You did. You were the only one that did that. I didn't see any of this game, so I don't really know much about it. But I guess Connor, you were watching it a little bit, or?
Yeah, I was able to see a little bit of it, and I was following on the Gamecast, and I got to catch the end. But I mean, obviously the offense is still abysmal, and, something needs to be done about that. I mean, I think I said this last time, Mason Rudolph's not the guy. I mean, I know the Rams defense isn't quite as good as it used to be, and the fact that you're still only putting up 17 points on them is not very good. But I mean, credit to the Steelers defense. The fact that, as a unit, they only gave up 3 points, because 9 of those points for the Rams one was a fumble recovery for a touchdown, and and then they got a safety. So, and I mean, I think right now, at least for the short term, we're not sure how the draft picks are going to turn out, but it's looking right now that the Steelers won the Minkah Fitzpatrick trade, because Minka's got 5 interceptions and 2 defensive touchdowns since coming to the Steelers. So it's looking like the Steelers won that trade. And the Steelers are very much back in the playoff race. I mean, I think actually I've mentioned this to the guys on Facebook, but the Steelers actually put themselves into the 6th seed in the AFC right now with this win, which I don't think anybody saw coming at the beginning of the year when Roethlisberger went down and after how they got blown out by the Patriots in week 1 and, you know, we started the season like 0-3 or 0-4. So a big turnaround for the Steelers. We'll see if they can keep it up. I don't know if they can, but I mean, the offense is going to have to step up. But if they can keep playing the defense they've been playing, then they could go places.
Yeah, that's to me why I was, you know, it's a dilemma for the Jags fans here. Like, do you root for the Rams so that the Steelers, you know, lose a game in the wild card race, or do you root for the Steelers so the Rams have a worse potential draft pick? To me, I was rooting for the Rams on the side because to me, I think that's more important than one game for a draft slot. Like, I mean, winning or losing this game for the Rams isn't really necessarily gonna like make the pick become like 10 spots better or worse. Whereas like the Steelers winning this game, like this could be the game that like keeps the Jaguars out of the playoffs potentially, which is a much more serious thing than a draft pick spot. So that's why I was going for the Rams in this. But I guess Eric, you were going for this.
I disagree with this. It's crazy because usually Zach and I like agree on pretty much everything, but
not today.
On this episode. For me, I definitely don't disagree with what Zach is saying in terms of the wild card positioning, but for me as a Jags fan, the Jaguars just need to go out and get this division. Even though we're technically in last place right now, the division is still very winnable. Houston, while they're in first, they have a rough part of their schedule coming up. And then the Jaguars get to play the Colts and Titans in their next 2 games. And if the Jaguars can win against both the Colts and the Titans, the Jaguars will already move into second place. And if the Texans lose to the Ravens, then we'd be only a game behind them. I would probably 2 because we lost to them twice.
Yeah.
So they would have the tiebreaker.
They have the tiebreaker.
That's the thing, dude. They've got the tiebreaker like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but if the Jaguars beat the Colts and Titans, that's going to give them a lot of good momentum going forward. And plus, not only if they win that too, if they win both of those games too, that also seriously moves them up in the wild card standings as well. So, for me, I didn't care. Sorry, Red and Uncle Mike, if either of y'all are listening to this, but I'm rooting for the Rams to lose every single game until the end of next season. So,
well, definitely NFC games, but to me, this one was much like I don't know, like you don't want to like. Still though, you never like. Sorry, I don't know what to say. But
do you trust Mason Rudolph to lead the Steelers?
Dude, they have an easy schedule. Like they've got the Bengals and the Browns twice, and the Cardinals,
and the Jets.
Their schedule is super easy, so that's why I'm worried because
the only real tough game we have left is going to be the final game of the season at Baltimore.
That's the only one that is going to be tough. I think the Steelers can.
Which, we almost beat Baltimore the first time, too, so without Roethlisberger.
So, this is one of those where, something good's going to happen, something bad's going to happen no matter what, but I don't know. We just disagree a lot in this episode, I guess.
I don't trust the Steelers' defense to generate didn't they get a defensive touchdown in this game?
Yeah, they also had, 300. They had, 3 interceptions, though, too, to go along with that.
Yeah, they're good, but I don't trust them to be that good to be able to bail out the Steelers offense every single game.
Yeah, but they've got 2 free wins with the Bengals and Jets. They're already 7
They've already
wins.
played the Bengals once, so
they play them one more time. So
they only have to play them one. They only have to play them one more time, but
that's still a free win, and the Jets is a free win too. I think we're gonna end up. I think Eric, you're gonna end up regretting this. I hope not. But
Well,
I'm
honestly,
I'm loving the dynamic between you two in this episode.
Honestly, my concern though, I mean, obviously, would love for the Jags to be really good, but based on the way they've played this season, I am not even sold that the Jags are going to make a playoff push. I mean, obviously, if they can beat the Colts and Titans, then they're right back in it. But we don't really know how Foles is going to be since he played like 2 drives before he got injured the first time.
At least he threw a touchdown when he got injured.
Yeah, he did throw that touchdown, but so it's still up in the air. But the Jaguars haven't won a single game against a team with a winning record this year, so it's hard for me to believe that the Jaguars are going to go on.
Yeah, but still,
obviously, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know, dude.
I don't know, man. I feel like Eric and I can just like be going back and forth. I feel like if you like brought up any question, we would be different on, because like I'm feeling totally different about that than you are. And I thought before you were like talking about like, oh, we still got the Titans and the Colts and stuff. Like,
I mean, they have
the schedule's easy left, man. Like if you look at the Jags schedule, it's not that hard.
If I'm gonna be the tie-breaking vote here, I went with Eric on the last one, but I kind of have to go with Zach on this one. I agree that, I mean, obviously I was rooting for Pittsburgh because I'm a fan, but if I was in y'all's position, I would have been rooting for the Rams because, it's always better for a conference opponent to lose than, maybe get a slightly better draft pick if you can make that playoff push. I mean, like, I could get if the Jags were, like, doing really bad this year, that you'd want to root for the Rams just to get, more draft picks. But the fact that the Jags are definitely still in it is, I would agree with Zach that, I would have been rooting for the Rams.
All right, that makes me feel a little bit better. All right, so we'll get to our final game here in this episode. That was going on a little bit longer than we thought, but that's fine. Minnesota and Dallas, Sunday night football game. Minnesota wins 28-24. Eric and I got it right. This is one where I was surprised with like the picks, because I thought I would have predicted Eric to pick Dallas based on his heart, and then I would have predicted Connor and Nate to pick Minnesota based on their hearts, but I picked this game based on my heart because I figured this would be close, so I just went with Minnesota to root for. But yeah, like Dallas, they might have like a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense or something, but they have like an average record. How do you explain that? Cowboys going 8-8 this year. I'm telling you, that's all I want to say on this. And Minnesota's for real too. Minnesota's good.
Yeah, I didn't give them enough credit at the start of the year, but they are. As long as Kirk Cousins can keep not screwing stuff up. That's Christian Kirk, because he's got the C and the K.
He's been playing. He's been playing a lot better since we called him out when he had those terrible games there. But
man, we called him out big time.
Well, this is the biggest problem. I'm going to answer your question, Zach, as to why Dallas has a good offense and a good defense, but why they have a
average record
for what their expectations were. The problem for the Dallas Cowboys is that in literally every single game they've played this season, they get off to terrible starts. And sometimes they're able to overcome the bad start, and sometimes they're not. So in this game, they were down 14-0 after the first 2 drives of the game for each team. And yes, they came back and made a run and came close and they almost got it, but you can't be constantly going down by 2 scores and expect to win every single game. I mean, yeah, you can do it sometimes, but you just can't expect to do that every time, and especially not against a good team like Minnesota. When they went down to both times they played the Giants this year, they got behind against them. So, but yeah, the Giants aren't a great team, so they were able to come back and beat them. And same thing, I think they went down like 7-0 against the Redskins when they played them. They were able to come back and beat them. But look what happens when they get behind against a team like the Vikings or
good team,
or against a team like the Saints. I mean, yeah, the Saints had a terrible game today, which I'm still going to roast them about because of them costing me
The
another
Packers
strike.
game, that was an example.
Costing me, yeah, they got down really, yeah. And I mean, I remember, I think like Skip Bayless was like, "Oh, Dak Prescott almost
Oh my
led the
god, he
greatest
defends
comeback."
Dak way too much, dude.
Well, that's okay. Stephen A. is roasting him constantly, so
he almost led the greatest comeback in NFL history. Well, first of all, the key word in that sentence was almost.
Yeah.
Second of all, you shouldn't be getting yourselves behind in a situation like that in the first place.
Yeah,
So
I agree with him on some things, but definitely not that. Like,
no, I think if there's any Cowboys fans listening to this, like I know Susan's brother Paul, you just subscribed not too long ago, so if you tune into this, like I'm sure you're going to agree with me. Like there might be some unreasonable and irrational Cowboys fans like Skip Bayless. They're like, oh, they're coming back. Like they keep coming back. All these come from behind wins. Well,
I know,
but you can't rely on that. So my final mini rant of the episode is, as I said a few weeks ago when the Cowboys lost to the Jets. Obviously, they need another wake-up call because last time I did this, they came back and won the next couple games. So, Dallas, I'm sure a lot of y'all are married or have serious relationships going on. You know the saying, happy wife, happy life. Well, my fiance is a fan of y'all. And once again, she's not happy. So get it together and win some more games, please. Mic drop.
Thankfully, my girlfriend is not a very big sports fan, so I don't have to worry about that.
That's where we'll end this. Right after that, the perfect mic drop ending. We still got the Monday night game left, but we don't know the score in that yet. So thank you guys for tuning in, though. This is a fun episode. A little bit heated there at the end with our disagreements, but and that's what makes this fun sometimes.
Well, I was going to say, it's not like, that's one thing that I like about us compared to like watching people like, Skip and Shannon, like we can have disagreements, but still be professional and we still respect the other person's opinion. We're not like, oh, you're an idiot, how they get on those shows or get like hot and yelling at each other.
Oh my God, dude. Or like, none of you guys, when I was talking, and I didn't do this either, like that's another thing they do too, is like, is it my turn yet? Like that, they go like that, like
yeah,
so none of us
my turn now, please.
Like my turn to talk. Hello.
Oh jeez. But thanks guys for tuning in. Hopefully that weekend update was something you liked. We're gonna be doing that more often now, so hopefully you enjoyed it. There'll be many more of those to come, and they'll be getting better each and every week. So take care, guys, and have a great rest of your day.
See ya.
Peace.